How did the non-Arab imams reach the level of Arabic they did in the old days? And why do we not reach that level today?
Because they lived in amongst the Arabs. When the Arabs started taking control of all these countries, Arabic became the official language of all those countries. So Iran, all of those dual, the countries that were underneath the Furs, the Persians, their official language became Arabic. That's what they studied in, that's what they taught in, that's how they learned. And they still kept their language, they still spoke their language, but their official language became Arabic. So the children started learning the Arabic language from the youngest age. Bukhari, he was raised up with the Arabic language, and he's Persian. All right, and the same thing with all of the ulama from the Kutub al-Sitta except for Muslim. Now, Muslim, although he was raised up in the Persian area, but his asl is Arab. But the rest of them, their origins are Persian. So that's that's the difference. Like us, we're not being raised up like you go and you see like ulama being raised up in India or Pakistan or Indonesia or Ethiopia. They're not. They have to learn the Arabic language first. So but you look at like Sheikh Muhammad ibn Adam al-Ethiopi, rahimahullah, and look at the level that he reached in the Arabic language, and he's from Ethiopia, and his knowledge of the Arabic language probably surpassed 99.9% of the Arabs on the earth at the time that he was alive. And that man was highly intelligent, highly knowledgeable of the Arabic language, to the point where the Arabs would have to ask him, what things mean. So he has to explain it to them. So it's about the peace, but he was raised up with that. He was raised up in centers of learning amongst ulama in his belad. And then by the time that he went to Saudi Arabia, he was already a sheikh. He'd already learned all that. He'd already studied all the books of Nahu, memorized the poetry. So that's how they got to that level. They didn't speak their language. But now you go to Pakistan, and you're going to see what? You're going to see the shuyukh, they're teaching in Urdu. They're not even teaching in Arabic. The people aren't being raised up in the Arabic language. You go to Indonesia, and the people are teaching in Bahasa Indonesia. I don't know. Jakarta is going to have to tell us how to say it. But, and the same thing here in America. We're sitting there talking in English. So, but they didn't do that. All their education was in the Arabic language. And they started studying all these books from a young age. So you'll see like all the people that came up and where look at Jorjani, Sibawayh was not even Arab, and all the big imams of the Arabic language, they're not Arabs. Go back and read their tarajim. Go back and read about Al-Farra, Al-Nahas, and all these individuals that were like imams of the language, and see what their origins are. So, but also read how they grew up. They grew up where they were learning poetry, memorizing poetry when they were like 8 years old, 9 years old. Studying poetry, learning poetry. They've already memorized the Quran. Now they're memorizing poetry. Now they're studying grammar when they're like 11. Then they perfect and finish up their studies in grammar by the time that they're like 15. They're studying, so this is obviously before the days of Alfiyat ibn Malik. So you look at the original book, Al-Kitab from Sibawayh. Go look that book up online and see how many volumes that is. That was like a basic book of Nahu in their time. Yeah, you have to be a scholar to read that book today. I had that book when I was in Yemen. I used to read through that book. Wallahi, that book used to give me nightmares, man. But I loved it so much because he goes through so many aspects of the Arabic language, and you're going back to the source. You're reading this is what Sibawayh said, and inshallah that's probably gonna be one of the next books that I get, inshallah. If I get the opportunity to get some more books, Sibawayh, is Al-Kitab is gonna be one of the next books I get, inshallah. Get it back. I had it before, but I want to get it back again, inshallah. But that's how they were raised up. We're not raised up like that. We're raised up lazy. We don't 20, 30 years old, still can't speak the Arabic language, haven't memorized Juz Amma. That's why we suck. That's just bottom line, man. There's nothing that we could brag about. I remember back in the days where I used to ask a person, how much have you memorized from the Quran? And they're like, oh, I can't tell you. That's between me and Allah. Yeah, you got nothing. There's nothing that we've done that we need to be proud of. Because trust me, if you memorize one or two Jews, there's people that memorize the Quran and the 7 forms of recitation. You haven't done nothing because you memorized 3 Jews, 4 Jews. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing. But you see how we are. Like, oh, that's between me and Allah. I don't talk about that stuff. You don't talk about it because you know that you haven't done anything. We haven't done anything really to boast or, to be like, wow, mashallah. So, I mean, that's what needs to change. And, the only way that that's going to change is that we have to start to spark the minds of the younger generation to want to go out and seek knowledge. The generation that hasn't smoked weed, the generation that didn't drink malt liquor, the generation that's not fornicating with women, the generation, those people, when they go and they seek knowledge, akhi, with that pure heart, not full of corruption and sin, those people, alhamdulillah, they have a strong memory, and Allah blesses them to be able to retain a lot. But us, I mean, we gotta, like, that's our job. We gotta motivate those people of that generation. But we still gotta do what we can do. But we have a lot of work, man. We have a lot of work, and we're just sitting there like, I don't know, sitting there staring at the walls while all this work needs to be done. So Allah musta'an.